There are many other things going on, and players are saying, this isn't where I want to be. So individuals in the frenzy were saying, y'all, that's not my point. Yes, there are a lot of new things going on over there. For example, some of the key players on the Indiana Fever team are saying, I don't want to be here. This is where I want to be. Remember when Sheryl Swoopes said that? Well, Kelsey Mitchell just revealed the truth, making Swoopes look foolish. In her first interview since training camp, Mitchell didn't hold back against Swoopes' lies. For us, the new atmosphere, the new coaching, everything is just completely new. Feels great. This interview reveals everything Swoopes got wrong about the Fever, from claims that veterans avoided Indiana to suggestions that Mitchell herself was unhappy to claiming that Indiana and Caitlin Clark aren't dominant. The actual footage tells a completely different story. If you stand with the Fever comment fired up for the Fever down below, are you ready to let's go? I remember this time last year. It feels fresh, like when you take your clothes out of the dryer. It feels different and it feels good because we have new leadership. It didn't feel good, so we had to get that straight before anyone could start playing. Well, it's like a domino effect, but I think once your culture is kind of established, how you guys see it now, I think it makes everything else way easier. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Let's set the record straight about Kelsey Mitchell and the Indiana Fever. When Sheryl Swoopes claimed on her Queens of the Court podcast that Mitchell was unhappy and underappreciated in Indiana, she painted a picture of a fractured team that veterans actively avoided. However, watching Mitchell's recent interview, however, paints a completely different picture, one of excitement, camaraderie, and genuine optimism about the Fever's future. Personally, I think they didn't do a very good job with Kelsey Mitchell, who's an unrestricted free agent, because Kelsey Mitchell had an incredible season. And I don't think she received the credit she deserved. When Mitchell talks about the upcoming season, she doesn't give prepared responses or diplomatic non-statements. Instead, she leans forward, fully engaged, her enthusiasm practically radiating through the screen. I think the best part right now is that everyone wants to be here. It may sound corny, but it's nothing like being where you want to be, and everyone feels valued, so you can have a good training camp and preseason, so you can have a good first game when the season begins. Just that great feeling of everyone saying, hey, I want to be here and I want to compete. So I think that's the first step, and the best part right now is everyone wants to be here, Mitchell says firmly, directly contradicting Swoopes' story of dissatisfaction. You can hear the sincerity in her voice as she goes on to explain how this shared commitment creates an environment where players push each other to get better every day. That's not the sentiment of someone feeling undervalued or looking to leave. How has it been acing Stephanie White and I suppose that coach you're talking about? Oh, I have nothing but wonderful things to say about Stephanie, starting from when I was playing in China and her attempts to get me back here, as well as the leadership she showed in making sure Mitchell's emphasis on the team's fresh start is particularly telling. She talks glowingly about the new atmosphere that has been cultivated, paying particular attention to the leadership changes that have reinvigorated the organization. The excitement in her voice peaks when she discusses how these shifts have created a more positive, forward-looking culture within the team culture. And I think that once you establish the respect in the room, the environment is always valued with that. I believe that those days that are tough, that you do have to give your grace for, it's the spec behind it. When the topic shifts to the veterans who have joined the Fever, like Dana Bonner and Natasha Howard-Mitchell, her face lights up as she describes how these seasoned players have brought valuable perspective and championship mentality to practice sessions. Having veterans who choose to come here and share their knowledge changes everything, she explains, effectively dismantling Swoopes' claim that established players avoid Indiana. Yes, I think that your DBs are Sophies, and even Sid Carson is like a wild card because they won and they know it on different levels. You have to imagine that Sid Carson was perhaps started on the bench but had to go get minutes, won a championship. And then it was the same with Natasha Howard, it's the same with DB. So we get the different leadership of veterans that came to teach us how to win. So it's pretty fun. Look at Mitchell's body language throughout the interview. Does she seem underappreciated? No. She makes animated gestures and frequently breaks into spontaneous smiles when talking about her teammates. Her comfort and confidence speak volumes about her real experience with the team. I believe that the combination of leadership that we have from Divishash, Tash, and Sid will help ease things based on the people who are coming around to see us. But I also think that it does help. Let me say this. Before we got here a month ago, we were all coming in. We come from our respective homes to establish that already. And so I believe that we've established that like 2 or 3 weeks ago, may have just been open run, but we've already kicked out how we want to play, so we could do it here. Mitchell's perspective on creating a winning culture is especially insightful. She emphasizes that success isn't just about acquiring talent, but also about creating chemistry that leads to on-court results. We're learning to play together to understand each other's strengths, she says, and that's how you build something sustainable. These aren't the words of a disgruntled player. Rather, they are the thoughtful reflections of someone who is invested in long-term success. It makes for a better relationship, it makes for a better dynamic. And I believe that C-Square and I established that 2 years ago. Therefore, I believe that everything with us will always be culture and really put together, because we've already established who we were as players and people and how we can help each other make each other better. It feels good to me already. Perhaps the most damaging thing to Swoopes' narrative is the fact that Mitchell actively chose to return. To the Fever actions speak louder than third-party speculation, and Mitchell's decision to continue her career in Indiana speaks volumes. When asked about playing alongside Caitlin Clark, Mitchell doesn't display the tension or resentment that Swoopes implied. Instead, she talks about complementary skills and mutual respect, explaining how their different playing styles create opportunities for everyone on the court. But I believe that strength is always going to be a key component for her. When she talks about their shared goals, Mitchell's sincere excitement for the team's direction is most evident. We're creating something special here, and she says with conviction, I want to be part of it. For one, her strength is her ability to make plays that people don't think about, like that skip to skip, which may seem like a small play, but it's going to make her go from having 25 to having 28, or 10 assists to 12 assists. While Sheryl Swoopes confidently predicted that Caitlin Clark would struggle to adjust to the professional game, Clark's own words reveal a rookie who understands exactly what it takes to succeed at the highest level. 3 WNBA MVPs in your career. Would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself? No, I can't, bro. Sheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant. Her passion when discussing the Fever's future prospects completely contradicts any notion that she feels marginalized or unhappy. Caitlin Clark is approaching it with a mindset that would silence her critics. Physical growth, I've had to grow the most because these women are just stronger. They've been professionals for years. Clark said, her voice displaying determination rather than frustration. The strength training aspect has been my biggest adjustment, she said. This matter-of-fact assessment demonstrates that Clark isn't blindly expecting to dominate based on college success. Rather, she's identifying specific areas for improvement and attacking them methodically. Yeah, that was like my main focus during the offseason. And I'm really grateful to Sarah, our strength and conditioning coach, who put in a lot of time with me, and we were in here consistently. I think the biggest thing for me is just having that consistency to be able to work on it for 6 months or whatever it was. So I definitely feel a lot stronger. I'm a pretty self-aware person, so I knew that was going to be a big part of it. And even through these 2 practices, I can definitely feel it. Clark's practical approach goes beyond physical training. Instead of complaining about the difficulties of making the transition to the professional game, she frames it as an exciting evolution. You're learning a new offense, new teammates, new coaches, and it's like starting fresh, she said, her eyes brightening with excitement. The best part is that I am enjoying every moment of it. You'll notice that she describes these changes as opportunities rather than challenges, which isn't really the mindset of someone who is having a hard time adjusting. Of course, the biggest advantage is that you you have a new coach and a lot of new teammates. So in that sense, it's still a learning process to figure out your teammates and the new system, but you're accustomed to the pace, the physicality, and all of that. So you're ready for it. Having that under your belt is kind of what's helped me the most here, but at the same time, it's a learning process for everyone. We're figuring out our chemistry on the court, but off the court, we already clicked so well. The ease with which Clark refers to her teammates by their first names without hesitation or formality speaks volumes about the relationship she's building. I don't think anyone is trying to be alpha like her. Come back, new coach, we're just trying to learn in the same way and build relationships with her teammates. However, having a year under her belt is really helpful. What's particularly striking is how Clark discusses her teammates. Throughout the interview, she maintained consistent eye contact when mentioning specific players, leaning forward slightly with genuine animation. Everybody is trying to be a good listener and support their teammates. But how do you strike a balance between speaking up and being a great leader? How do you listen and how do you recover? I believe it all comes down to the relationships you have with your teammates, which you have to make an effort to cultivate so that when something goes wrong or you have to hold someone accountable, they know it's in the best interests of the team. I believe it just begins with getting to know your teammates, but at the same time, we have so many wonderful personalities that will make it enjoyable. Fans will love watching us, and we will have a lot of fun playing basketball. And you know that, you embrace that about your teammates as well. This camaraderie directly contradicts the narrative of division in the locker room that Swoopes attempted to convey. Clark seems completely integrated with the team, referring to group activities and shared goals with genuine enthusiasm. We eat dinner together and hang out, explaining that it makes coming to practice enjoyable every day. Her body language remained open throughout these remarks, with her shoulders relaxed and occasionally laughing. And she said, I think the vibes are really good, and that's what's really fun about it. Like, obviously we're not in the heat of battle yet, but at the same time, we're out here supporting one another and having fun. And I think that's what's cool about it. Clark's perspective on the team's trajectory is perhaps the most revealing. Rather than concentrating only on individual accolades or immediate results, she shows patience and long-term vision. We're building something that will last, Clark emphasized. The wins will come as we grow together. This mature outlook directly challenges Swoopes' suggestion that Clark would be frustrated by anything less than immediate dominance. I was so used to playing basketball for basically a year of my life, and that's all I did. The rest was great, but it felt really short. Like, we played a lot of pickup. We were in here constantly, and Keith worked with me throughout the offseason and wanting to improve. So as I mentioned earlier, I thought it would be lengthy and drag a little bit, but it goes much faster than you might think. However, I'm excited because when it comes to game preparation, Clark demonstrated remarkable self-awareness about her development process. She admitted that in college, you might rely more on talent, but here, mental preparation makes all the difference. She describes specific defensive schemes she's learning to navigate and offensive sets she's mastering. DP's been incredible. Such a selfless leader. She says she's here to win, but she really means it. She sets an example every day. For example, after today's practice, we were just sitting there discussing things that went well and things that we need to work on. At the same time, you have to put that together. It won't be like, all right, you have all these great players step out on the court and it's going to work like. It's going to take a little bit of time to figure out how everybody works with one another. Sheryl DB has been amazing, and it's clear that she's also a fantastic basketball player. The league's most scrutinized rookie. At the end of the day, it's still basketball, she said with a sincere laugh. Sometimes, with all the attention, you forget that, but when I'm on the court with my teammates, that's when I'm happiest. This approach, which finds joy in the process rather than obsessing over results, suggests a player built for long-term success rather than flashy moments. When she wins championships, she knows what it is, so when she speaks, everyone listens. I believe that was a piece of what we were missing last year. We didn't really have that inside our locker room, so I'm really grateful for that. The way she leads, like for me as a second-year point guard, Like, I want to win for her. Like, this is the end of her career. Like, she deserves it. I'm glad to see you all again. But it was nice to get away from everything and just be able to live my life as a normal person. Enjoy things that I love to do, like cook, bake, go outside, watch other sporting events, see my family, and enjoy things that I really enjoy. Don't get me wrong, I love that. Strength training, film study, team chemistry, and professional development paint a complete picture of a rookie dedicated to mastering every aspect of her craft. While Swoopes looked for weaknesses, Clark has been methodically addressing them, turning potential limitations into strengths. Having the spotlight and playing with my teammates is one of the most fun things in the world. But after a while, we had a great year, and after a month or so, I was itching to get back in. That's when Stephanie White, the mastermind architect, enters the story. Swoopes suggested that the fever lacked direction, but she obviously missed White's methodical approach that is quietly building one of the most promising young cores in the WNBA. The first emphasis is defense, really, and making sure that we understand the expectations on that end of the floor, and you know how we want to. Coach White's basketball philosophy revolves around three key components that give this team its identity. First, as she explained in her recent media session, our defense creates our offense. Second, the physicality with which we want to play. And third, the mindset, how we want to be on the defensive end of the floor. I believe that offensively, it's just being creative and learning how to make plays. And finally, how do we put one another in positions to be successful? What actions benefit your teammates the most? Finally, learning how to play while making mistakes and self-correcting when we are making mistakes. Bedrock of everything else the Fever are building. In contrast to the aimless team Swoopes described, White has put in place a detailed defensive system that makes use of the distinctive physical characteristics of players like Boston and Hull. White's second pillar of his vision is creative offensive expression, saying that I want our players to play with freedom within structure. White also mentioned that basketball is a game of creativity, and I never want to stifle that. This balanced approach allows Clark's exceptional passing vision to flourish while maintaining offensive discipline. A sophisticated system that defies any notion of strategic confusion within the organization. It's the most talented roster I've been a part of. I've been a part of, huh? You know, I wouldn't say in W history. We've had teams with 2 or 3 players who can really, really play, and then you surround them with a lot of reg role players. But I think that when you look at the depth of this roster and the opportunity to play with a lot of different lineups and play a lot of different ways, what's particularly striking about White's approach is her commitment to positionless basketball. The third element of her philosophy is that the modern game demands versatility. So we're developing players who can attack from anywhere on the floor and defend multiple positions. This forward-thinking approach positions the ability to hold one another accountable, to be held accountable, and yet give grace when we know that we're going through all these changes. I mean, we have 5 returning players and everyone else is new, is crucial for both immediate improvement and long-term success in a league that is changing quickly. We want to be able to give grace through our accountability process so that we can understand that we're growing and that we're not even close to where we'll be when it comes time for the playoffs. We also need to grow through some uncomfortable things every day. So in order to hold each other accountable, hold ourselves accountable, and understand that we are learning as we go, we must give grace throughout this process. White's calm demeanor when discussing the team's growing pains suggests a coach who understands the developmental timeline required for championship contention, something patient Swoopes evidently couldn't understand when making her dismissive remarks. Winning is uncomfortable. It's hard. So we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. We have to be able to keep our focus on where we want to be, but also understand that it's not linear, right? It's not linear. White's evaluation of the roster reveals another dimension missing from outside criticism. We have extraordinary depth at the coach's methodical analysis of player combinations demonstrates that she's not just assembling talent, but also building a roster where skills complement each other strategically, which speeds up development. First and foremost, I think one of the things that you know about her from a distance, but seeing it on a daily basis, is the way she works. Talk a lot about work ethic, but work style is another thing. And she literally embodies the saying, how you do anything is how you do everything, whether it's a shooting drill, a ball handling drill, or screen setting. She approaches it with such discipline that she doesn't waste time, and I appreciate that. It's been pleasant and refreshing to work out with her. White's method for creating game rotations is perhaps the most telling. We're tracking every practice rep and every scrimmage outcome, she explained. We're identifying not just individual strengths, but which 5 player combinations maximize our effectiveness. This data-driven approach to team building reveals a level of organizational sophistication that completely contradicts Swoopes' portrayal of the franchise. The importance White places on veteran presence further casts doubt on the idea that established players avoid Indiana championship experience. The coach's body language, leaning in, gesturing confidently, and maintaining steady eye contact while talking about roster construction shows none of the uncertainty you'd expect from someone lacking strategic direction. And nobody does. Life is a great learning experience for all of us, but having players who have been in here, who have won championships, on the sideline and in the locker room with them, like Tasha Howard's won 3, and I'm sure Sid Colson has won 2, and DB's won championships, Beyond January, and Karema Christmas have won championships. So having those players by her side can help guide and understand what it takes on a daily basis, a play-by-play basis. Throughout her interview, White radiates the quiet confidence of someone who understands exactly where this team is headed. There is no defensiveness when responding to criticism, no overcompensation with empty promises, just the measured assurance of a coach with a comprehensive blueprint for building a contender DB. She is vocal, and while she may not say it in front of the public, she is undoubtedly going to bring the team together and bring players aside to talk to them about the little things. She has experienced a lot of different things, including teammates, playing with some of the best in the world, franchise coaches, and all of those things. The 2025 Indiana Fever aren't just hoping to compete. They're laying the groundwork for something special and sustainable. From Mitchell's renewed commitment to Clark's professional growth to White's strategic brilliance, there's an undeniable synergy taking shape in Indianapolis. When all is said and done, this isn't just a rebuttal to baseless claims. It's the unveiling of a franchise transformation happening in real time. The evidence speaks volumes. A team that is genuinely excited about its direction, players who respect each other's talents, and a coach with a crystal clear vision for success. Skepticism from the sidelines, but when it becomes clear that this Fever team is real, they will have to deal with it. If you stand with the Fever comment, fire it up for the Fever down below, like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss it. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next